Good morning, everyone. Here we are. It is, of course, the Fruit Nut News. And, of course, today is, of course, the 26th, ladies and gentlemen, the 26th, Sunday, the 26th of April, 2026, ladies and gentlemen. 26th of the 26th. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Just going to have to do the numbers on that. Definitely. So, hope we're all okay this morning. Are you all okay? Eh? Surviving under the pressure of the assassination. Beautiful. More to say about that in a minute. Let's have a look at the numbers here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22. 22 gives us a 4. Very interesting. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 32, 34, gives us 34. Oh, Mark, come on, 34 gives us a 4, gives us 40. So we got 4-4. So Sunday today is, of course, a 4-4 day today, which is very interesting. Well, what have we got for you today? Well, of course, let's first of all say a good morning and welcome to the show to all the people, of course, that matter, and they're the ones that have logged in. And then, of course, there's all the people that also matter as well, and they're the ones that didn't log in either. Because they kind of want to turn a blind eye, or they don't want to know the truth. That's entirely up to them, of course. We wish them very well. But, of course, the time is fast approaching for truth to be circulating amongst the masses. And there's going to be some very, very shocked people knocking around. So, Sparks is in, Lisa's in, Chris Taylor's in, Diane's in, Island's in, Glenn's in, Jan's in, Graham's in, Abe's in, Sheila's in, Grad's is in. Jason Thomas is in. Joyce Guest is joining us as well today. So good morning, everyone. A beautiful 14 people in. I'm not really bothered about the numbers. It don't really make any odds to me. Apart from the fact that, yes, it would be nice to be reaching 40 or 50 million people, or maybe even 8 billion. Maybe that's to come in the future, who knows, but we shall, of course, wait and see. Well, of course, we've got the King. Now, the King is, of course, as you well know, visiting America, the King and the Queen. Now, there's some very interesting facts that you may or may not be aware of in regards to the visit of the King and the Queen to America Shire. And it is, of course, a very interesting visit. A very interesting visit, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes. So, of course, linking that, of course, to, the assassination, etc., of Donald Trump, of course, which we will talk about in a bit. But could the King have scripted a forward assassinating party in regards to Donald Trump yesterday? Well, there's all kinds of little tidbits flying around, as they say in the trade, but we will try and get to the bottom of it. Now, of course, as you all know, the assassination attempt was very well timed, a couple of days before, of course, the King is due in America. Very interesting. Now, the point about this is why would the King not want to be in America at this particular moment in time? I mean, if the assassination attempt had, of course, worked, there would have been some kind of national mourning, and most things would have been buried as per the scripted, normal fucking thing. Anyway, so the King. Why would he order an assassination on Donald Trump? Well, very interesting. You may or may not know that America is, of course, now not Commonwealth soil, and it hasn't been for a while. And it's finally broken free from the Corporation of America, Federal Reserve, fiat money, petrodollar. We spoke about that, and so it leads us to draw some rather interesting conclusions. Now, of course, America now is, of course, a republic, which means that it doesn't come under, excuse me, the normal rules and regulations of a country, let's speak. Now, in the past, the king and the queen, and particularly the queen, has always visited Commonwealth countries. Now, you may, of course, go, well, why is that relevant? Does that matter? Yes, it does actually matter, because, of course, if the queen or the king visit the past queen or the king and this queen and the king, if they visited uncommonwealth countries, of course, they could be liable to arrest. Now, that is why, of course, these people don't go to various countries. Now, let's, for instance, take Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu has committed, let's say, crimes he's been found guilty in, let's say, the Dominion Republic. Now, Netanyahu is not going to set foot on, of course, Dominion Republic soil, because, of course, he will get arrested. Now, this is the same thing for the king and queen. Should they step on various territories, okay, they will be immediately arrested. Now, from what I can gather, if we go back a few years, the king and queen used to visit the Kamloops Children's School in, I think it was Australia, or New Zealand, I can't remember which one. But that's not the point. The point is that these countries were sovereign Commonwealth countries. Sorry, Jason, it was Canada. So Canada is, as you well know, Canada is a Commonwealth country, still governed by the Queen. And so the Queen could not be arrested on Canadian soil simply because, of course, it's her own country, so she's not going to get arrested. So this applies. This doesn't apply to this week. Okay, so this week is going to be very much different to what it's been in the past. Now, I'm not sure what is actually going to happen, but it's very interesting that the assassination attempt was basically attempted, by a couple of days before the visit of course, the king and queen. Now, as we well know, people high up in the echelons of British colonial rule, of course, didn't want or don't want the king to visit America. Now, of course, there are all kinds of reasons for that, but I suspect that the main reason is that there is a good chance that the king could be arrested, or he could be, should we say, popped off, so to speak, or he could fall upon his sword in a very elaborate accident. Very interesting. Now, as you well know, if you are conducting a visit in your own Commonwealth jurisdiction, you, of course, have a very good control of the people in that jurisdiction, and they are more likely to adhere to the jurisdiction rules and regulations, whereas in different countries, it is, of course, very different. Now, you may or may not have noticed, but you don't see the royals visiting certain parts of the countries because, of course, they haven't got any jurisdiction in those other countries, which leads them open to be assassinated, so to speak. Anyway, so that's a very interesting thing that's going on this week. Now, the king is, I think the king is due between the 28th and I think it's the 28th and the 30th. So it's about 2 days. So not long to wait. So we're looking at Tuesday. So we're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this could be quite interesting. Now, let's have a quick look at the shooter of Don. Now, the shooter of Don was very interesting. Now, the shooter of Don was apparently a guy called Larry the Cat. Now, he clearly was a leftist, identifying, gender pronouncing pussy that basically decided that after teaching his kindergarten children this morning, Saturday morning, about BDSM, dildos, and of course porn, he decided that he was going to teach Don a lesson. Now, this was quite interesting because this spectacle was rather like an advert from some soap opera. And here we had the shooter. Here we had the shooter that was basically arrested, and he was naked. He didn't have any clothes on. Now we were kind of, well, how did his clothes actually fall off? Well, it's been suggested that he was actually doing a advert for bamboo underwear. Now, you all know the benefits of wearing bamboo underwear. I've got mine on now. Apparently, very good material, wicks sweat away and keeps you cool in the nether regions of the the areas. Now, apparently, the teacher Larry, who identifies as a cat, or should we say a pussy, basically was arrested naked. Apart from a pair of underwears. Now, the bamboo company that make the pants have denied that they have had anything to do with this assassination attempt. Now, of course, most people will actually now be completely bamboozled by the events of Saturday night in America. Unfortunately, we are able to cut through the bullshit. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't understand how this man managed to get not only shots off, but managed to get anywhere near an incident. Apparently, he was invited. Now, I don't know about you, but why would you invite a teacher who was teaching kindergarten children about BDSM and porn and dildos, on the morning of the dinner? Somebody needs to check the guest list, I think. Anyway, that's beside the side. So that's, first of all, the first anomaly that we noticed. The second anomaly that we noticed was, of course, the theatrics, and this was a theatrical wizardry on the part of whoever was coordinating the theatrics. Now, from the face of Melania, it seemed as though that Melania didn't have any clue that Donald Trump had basically planned a little bit of payback. Now, you will, of course, recall that Melania spoke openly and freely a week ago in front of the White House, apparently unbeknown to the Don. And of course, yes, it was a very interesting situation. So was this Donald's way of giving Melania a little bit of payback for her outrageous behaviour over the addressing of the nation at the presidential podium, so to speak, which of course is owned by Donald Trump? Nobody else can speak at that podium. So Melania will be in shock this morning. I would imagine that her Versace pants will be very, very, very moist, so to speak. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's not having Kellogg's cornflakes and full-fat cream. Know what I mean? I didn't mean to do that one, but anyone, it did. And then, of course, there's the performance of Tiny Tears. Now, we all remember Tiny Tears back in the day. This was from Christmases past. If you've never heard of Tiny Tears because you happen to be Gen fucking B or fucking Gen A or whatever, Tiny Tears was a doll that was brought out that both my sisters were absolutely raving about back in the day. And apparently when you gave the doll it did some fucking tears shit. So here we have Erica Kirk was basically at the event. Now apparently Erica is assisting Donald Trump in the should we say the revamping of politics. Know what I mean? And Erica Kirk was, now bear in mind that Erica has very recently lost her husband, and of course she did quite a lot of interesting celebrations in regards to the death of Charlie Kirk. Now, Erica turned up at Charlie's side rather rapidly after she realised that he was worth quite a lot of money, and she would inherit his legacy after he passed away. Or should we say after he was assassinated? Or actually, was he assassinated but is now in witness protection, so to speak? We're not quite sure. Anyway, Erica was seen being led away in floods of tears, and of course, chanting the words that she wished she was at home. I don't know about you, but I wish she would stop at fucking home and look after the children. Know what I mean? Not that she should do that exclusively, but the question is, where is the mother in regards to that Charlie's gone, so to speak? And then, of course, there's the very interesting hugging that Erica Kirk has displayed live on camera for everybody to see with some very important married men. Very interesting. Now, then, of course, I think the most interesting character was a man of very, not prominent features, who during the whole of the shooting and episode continued to eat his dinner, slightly off camera, but if you were watching, you would of course have picked up on it. And of course, as you well know, the dinners at the White House have quite a large ticket number. And so, if you are paying £10,000 for a carrot and a couple of spoonfuls of rice, well, you need to continue eating, even though the president is supposedly in the middle of an assassination event. And then, of course, we come to the Secret Service. Now, the Secret Service, of course, seemed to be not all that secret, because they seem to be running around like blue-arse flies. Very interesting situation. To me, to be honest, it looked like a scene from the Keystone Cops. Now, I'm sure you've seen the scene of the Keystone Cops before. This is the silent movie era, where, of course, Mr. Keating, I think it's Mr. Keating, I think that's what they're calling him, I'm not quite sure. A very prominent silent film actor would do all kinds of things in regards to the Keystone Cops and getting arrested. Buster Keating, that's it. And he was a brilliant actor. And of course, one of the scenes that I can remember most of all was the fact that he was being chased by the police, and he gets in a car and then proceeds to go out the other side of the car, the door. And then, of course, 20 or 30 cops actually go into the door and out the other side to chase him, which is a typical Buster Keaton type of a scenario. So, very, very interesting. We also have to take into consideration as well that this is the second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Now, the first one was just as bad. First of all, we had a shooter that didn't have the right gun, proven by the fact that it was the wrong bullet. We're not quite sure what happened to that lad. I think he was about 9 years old at the time. And anyway, it's an interesting scenario. The fact that the most prominent place to have a shooter was the place that wasn't, of course, under surveillance by the shooter team. Now, these people are supposed to be high caliber individuals who can look at an area or a scene and work out where the best shooter position is. These are normally experts in their field, normally ex-shooter type characters, okay, ex-shooter type characters that can pinpoint a advantage point that a shooter could use. Unfortunately, they were unable to do that, which allowed Donald Trump to have a cruise missile actually cruise his ear at somewhere in the region of Mark 10. Now, if you know anything about, and you probably don't, but if you do know anything about sniper bullets, go and have a look at a 50 caliber round, and you will know what I mean. Even the fact that this bullet grazed Donald Trump's ear at the split second, and of course it was deemed to be a miracle from God. It was at that point that I realized that someone was trying to be fucking Jesus, which is actually not a good look at the moment. Anyway, that besides. So yes, just at the right moment, Donald managed to look to the east, and he was saved by Allah. In a very interesting scenario. Now, of course, that bullet traveling that fast, even if it had miraculously grazed his ear, which, by the way, has happened to recover, even though the person that Mike Tyson chewed his ear off still has no ear, because cartilage doesn't grow back. Very interesting. Anyway, digressing off the subject there, this is very important for us to remember that, yes, I knew something was wrong when people were portraying this as an act of God. Now, I don't know about you, but it's very rare that acts of God are filmed on camera. I mean, very rare. And even if they are, it's very rare that you see them because, of course, they are very rare. Anyway, so there we had, and then, of course, we had the debacle of the Secret Service agents who apparently, being trained in all kinds of warfare and protection skills, happened to take 2.5 hours to get onto the stage. Then they allowed their principal target, after trying to cover him up, they allowed him to then issue the fight salute to the crowd, who then happened to cheer, even though there was a shooter at large, apparently. And then, of course, there was the woman behind Donald Trump who decided that it was a great idea during a live assassination to film Donald Trump from behind. And she was a very brave lady. She didn't actually bat a fucking eyelid, which makes me wonder that she kind of knew what was coming in the first place. Very interesting. So we will of course wait and see. And it reminds us all, of course, that Donald Trump does often talk about central casting. And I think what he's referring to is the fact that every one of these people, and I mean everyone, including Donald Trump, is part of a central casting team. Okay? Even Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a savior. No. Donald Trump's not a savior. Donald Trump's team are not a savior. J.D. Vance is not a savior. Okay? They're not saviors. No. What they're doing is they are basically opening up your fucking eyes to the real, honest truth that this is all just a fucking show. It's a pantomime to wake people up out of their stupor of ignorance that so many people find themselves in. And to be honest, a lot of people find themselves in this position because, of course, they are not paying attention. And there's all kinds of reasons for that, and we're not going to go into that now. And then bringing you back to the assassination attempt, we of course also have to talk about the Secret Service agent. After finally getting Donald Trump into the car, after signing autographs and fucking giving out MAGA hats, Donald was finally bundled into the Secret Service bulletproof car, and everything appeared to be good. Until, of course, it was noted that the very fat Secret Service lady agent, no pun intended, couldn't holster her gun. She couldn't find the holster of her gun because she was not only that fat, but she wasn't either trained. I would imagine that somebody made a phone call that day and said, Gladys, we've got a role for you. You're going to play the part of Donald Trump's Secret Service agent, and we're going to kit you out in the appropriate gear, and you are going to pull off this role. Unfortunately, Gladys was unable to holster her gun, which showed a professionalism that was unbounded in the realms of Secret Service agents. Now, I don't know about you, but if we've got people this incompetent as Secret Service agents, it makes you wonder how competent the president of the United States is, the president of any other country is, and particularly Keir fucking Starmer. Oh my God. I mean, he's on a whole level of stupid, a whole new level of stupid, that man is. Not only that, but of course, a whole new level of stupid in regards to Angela Rayner, who is apparently going to be the next Prime Minister of the UK. This is basically a prostitute from Clapham. Now, I don't know about you. She was seen on multiple occasions on the street corners of Clapham with a pound sign strapped to her back. Very interesting. This is also a woman, of course, who basically shafted the people, so to speak. So very, very interesting. Now, there was a news item yesterday in regards to Iran, and it said Iran under pressure. Okay. Now, under pressure, of course, is referring to a Queen song. Under pressure, looking down on me, looking down on me. Now, I don't know the real words, but anyway, okay. But then, of course, when we look at Queen, the band, of course, we also have to take into consideration, is the Queen under pressure? Is the Queen under pressure? The Queen of Great Britain under pressure? You know, that prostitute that basically continued to have an affair with, of course, King Charles during the last, I don't know, 40 years or whatever. This is a woman that is trying to lecture other women on, of course, you know, on morals and behaving and etc., etc. Now, this is a woman that actively shagged the King of England over various things. And basically, I mean, I could never understand why, of course, King Charles chose Camilla. I'm not really bothered, but I mean, why would you forsake Princess Diana for, of course, you know, the local horse? Now, it may or may not turn out that Camilla is actually a man, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Hence the reason that Camilla has remained in the position that she's remained in. And I often wonder if Prince William remembers what they did to his mother, and whether or not those images and those things that happened to him have ever been forgotten. Now, I remember the time during Princess Diana's funeral when William looked at King Charles in a very interesting way. It wasn't in a good way either. It was in one of those ways where you look at someone and you know that that person is thinking, I'm going to fucking get you back, you bastard. Know what I mean? That was what I thought. Now, there is, of course, the thought process that William has been swapped out, etc., etc., etc. So that may or may not happen. Now, last night I did a bit of research into the history of America, and I went back to 1775. Okay, 1775. And this was where the this is where the battle between America and Britain began. But then what happened? It was very sneakily reinstated back in 1913. And when people find out what's happened, there's going to be some there's going to be some fucking tears. But anyway, from 1775, the Americans obviously fought a war against the colonial British, who tried to invade them and tried to make them, fucking do all kinds of shit. Now, in 1776, the 13 American colonies were declared, and independence from Britain was announced. This, of course, is July the 4th, which is Independence Day, as you well know. 1777 was known as the Year of the Hangman for all kinds of different reasons. 1778 was when France joined America, and the global war that was then declared on the UK. This is 1778. In 1779, the Spanish joined the war against Britain. I think that could probably be linked to the Spanish Armada invading Britain, etc., etc. Very interesting time. Then, from 1780 to round about 1783, 3 years, there was a lot of toing and froing, a lot of fighting, a lot of fucking winning, and a lot of losing. And I think finally about 1781, the British were finally defeated. 1782, there was a ceasefire announced, and the British acknowledged the American independence. So 76 to 1782 was a period of time where Britain didn't acknowledge the independence of America. So that's an important thing to remember. So we're looking at basically 8 years. We're looking at 8 years. So for 8 years, even though the Americans had declared independence, the British didn't recognise it. 8 years. Now, I want you to remember that we are now around 6 years into our little debacle. Think about it. Anyway, then in 1782, the Netherlands acknowledged America, and they lent them quite a lot of money. This, of course, is the Dutch, Indios, Pacific shit going on and all that. And finally, the British withdrew. The first Bank of America was started as well in 1782. And not only that, 100,000 loyalists that didn't want America to be independent fled to Canada, the Caribbean, and the UK. Note that one. Note that one. 1783, the Treaty of Paris. 1784, final legalities of the ceasefire. Then we had what they called 1786 was Shays' Rebellion. This is where farmers were faced with massive food prices and massive debt. Think about it now. 1787, the US new constitution was implemented. Very interesting. 1788, massive debt and massive debates for and against the brand new constitution. 1787, George Washington, the first president of the USA. So quite a history, quite a history. 1791, Bill of Rights was signed in. Then, of course, we had a period of time where, of course, expansion of America, etc., etc., etc. 1910, we come up to 1910 now. There's lots of stuff happened, but I'm going briefly. 1910, the Democratic Party won control of the House of Representatives for the first time since 1894. Think about that. That's quite a while. And then, of course, we have the slaughter and wars with Native American Indians from 1492 right the way through to the 1900s. Millions of Native American Indians were killed, along with buffalo and all kinds of shit went on. 1912, Titanic sank. 1913, the Federal Reserve was formed. And apparently, when people find out how the Federal Reserve was formed and when they fully understand the reasoning that happened and what actually happened to America, you'll fucking realize that finally, once again, Britain didn't put it to rest. They finally gained control of America through Washington, D.C., through setting up the Federal Reserve, through setting up a corporation outside of the jurisdiction of the normal fucking thing. So what we have here is the city of Westminster is actually a rogue organization. Washington D.C. was a rogue organization. Okay, the Federal Reserve, rogue organization. That's why you get a bill with your capital letters on from the corporation, because the corporation cannot legally operate you under your normal legalities. It's a corporation. It's something that you sign. That's why, of course, tax is voluntary. You are the ones that fill in the tax return. You are the ones that volunteer how much money you've earned. You volunteer how much money how much money you pay. You volunteer that. It's not law. You just volunteer it. Whether or not you know it or not is, of course, entirely up to your own personal education. So yeah, very, very interesting thing. I mean, you may or may not know, but you cannot bill a living person. A living person cannot be issued with a bill. It's impossible. The bill is issued to your dead entity. Your dead entity was created by, of course, the Federal Reserve, maritime law, fiat Ponzi scheme, and, of course, the massive birth certificate scam. Remember that your birth certificate is known as your Cecil V. Trust. Your Cecil V. Trust is what we talk about in regards to Jasara Nasara. That's what your Cecil V. Trust is. The Cecil V. Trust is not a pot of money somewhere outside of the system. No. The Cecil V. Trust is the Jasara Nasara is the Cecil V. Trust that is in the system. It's been set up by a system. And, of course, that system is, of course, rapidly collapsing, as you well know. The Strait of Hormuz is a particularly interesting one. Now, I'm going to try and explain this the best way I can. It might not come overly well, but let me try and explain it as best I can. So the Strait of Hormuz, or should we say the oil from Iran, was traded throughout the world under the petrodollar system. The petrodollar system is linked to the maritime law, admiralty law, etc., 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 etc. The petrodollar system relies on everybody trading in the petrodollar. And the reason that is that because it is basically printed money. It's printed money that's got no backing to gold or silver or precious metals, okay? That's coming off the gold exchange, etc., etc. There's loads of other stuff going on. But here's the thing. Why is it collapsing? Well, the reason that it's collapsing is because the first time in history that we know to, not in our history, the first time in our history Oil is now traded using the yen. Now, yesterday I called it the Zen, which is quite apt actually for the current situation. But China is now buying oil, okay, using the Zen, or Russia are using rubles. Now, what this means is that everybody's stepping away from the fiat dollar. Now, the fiat petrodollar. Now, let's have a look at Russia. Let's have a look at Brazil. The BRICS organizations have set up a group of companies that are now going to trade, okay, with their own currency, not the petrodollar. So this means that the Federal Reserve is going to crash, and it's going to crash rapidly. And one of the indications of this, of how it's going to crash, is very interesting. So the Federal Reserve System has printed so much money that they can't back it up, okay, with physical gold. It's impossible. I think Fort Knox has only got about, I think it's about fucking empty in regards to the debt. Now, in the past, what's normally happened is that the Federal Reserve will normally do what they call quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is basically, all it is just let's just print more and more money, okay, to prop up the system. That works for a while, but after about 10 years, it fucks itself up. This is very brief, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so what's happened now is that countries like China and Brazil, okay, that were trading in American bonds, okay, because that's where the wealth was, okay, are selling and dumping their American stock and bonds. Now, you might think, well, why would you buy a worthless bond? The reason that you would do that, the reason that you would buy a worthless bond, is because if you don't, the Federal Reserve, if they don't buy the bonds, then the Federal Reserve is going to crash. The Federal Reserve is going to crash anyway because they're buying the bonds. But the only thing that they can do at the moment is basically prolong that by buying the bonds back. But the bonds are worthless. So the Federal Reserve are buying worthless bonds to prop up their own system. But maybe they don't realise, or maybe they do. That system will grind to a halt at some stage. And now, of course, oil is being traded oil is being traded not in petrodollars. It's now being traded in other countries. Okay. So very, very interesting. And the Jisara Nasara is, I'm just reading this actually. The Jisara Nasara, okay, was apparently, okay, was signed during the Declaration of the Independence, which is quite a while ago, which I've just spoken about. So that's quite an interesting one. Saint Germain, the Jisara Nasara is known as the Saint Germain Trust. Now, apparently, Saint Germain, which apparently was an angel in human form, basically showed up during the signing of the independence, okay, back in whenever it was. I can't remember. Anyway, so it's all very interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, as we move forward, you are going to find out more and more about this. So remember that the American independence was signed in 1776, and it took a while for that independence to be recognised. Then, of course, what happened is the British created the Titanic situation in order to reclaim the power back from America. Very interesting. Very fucking interesting. And that, of course, as you well know, when the Federal Reserve was created, that, of course, was known as the greatest crime ever committed by a group of men on the American people and the world people, okay? And it was said at the time that if the American people understood what had actually happened, the very people that created the Federal Reserve would have been instantly swinging by their necks. That was what was said about the Federal Reserve back in the day. And of course, as you well know, this year, I think it's this year, is the 250th year, okay, of the anniversary of 1776. Nothing is ever by coincidence. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get myself off. I hope you've enjoyed your history lesson on this Sunday morning. And, of course, remember that one of the great teachings of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is that God is within you. You are God. God is inside you. You can do anything, create anything, go anywhere, be anybody, do whatever you want to do. God is inside you, and all you have to do is go within, turn within, and that's where you will find Christ, or should we say Christos. Christos is inside yourself. Okay, God is inside yourself. You are one of consciousness's creations. You are a creator of consciousness. Remember that whatever you focus on, you achieve. So if you focus on doom and gloom, you will, of course, draw doom and gloom to you. If you focus on happiness and well-being and all that shit, you will live happiness, etc., 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 etc. And this was reminded to me a couple of days ago when I went to visit my one of my customers, who has become a very awkward character over the last few weeks, to the point of being very, very aggressive. And I was supposed to cut the grass yesterday in the morning. Unfortunately, I went at about 5 o'clock on Friday evening, because it had been a lovely day. The wind had been blowing, the grass was dry, and if you know anything about cutting grass, you get a lot of dew on the grass in the morning, especially if you have a frost, and it doesn't normally dry out until around about 11, 12 o'clock. So normally, grass cutting I normally do in the afternoon at some stage, especially on a dry day. And so the original arrangement was, of course, Saturday morning. I turned up at 5 o'clock on Friday evening to the sound of, "What you doing here?" Well, I've come to cut the grass because it's a nice day, the wind's blowing, it's beautiful, and the grass needs cutting, ready for tomorrow. She promptly turned around to me and said, "Well, you're not supposed to be here until tomorrow." And I said, well, unfortunately, I am here today and the grass is going to get cut whether you like it or not. With that, she said to me, well, that's going to ruin my regime. So I said, well, okay, fair. Why is it going to ruin your regime? Well, my people that are coming are going to expect the grass to be cut in the morning of Saturday. I said, okay, well, unfortunately, you better tell your people that the grass is being cut now. And unfortunately, if they're not happy with that, well, I don't give a fuck. And that's how I left it. And what I mean is that this awkwardness, this controlling behaviour, this stuff is getting worse. And after this woman had calmed down for a while, and I'd cut the grass and done, and she'd actually asked me to do extra jobs, which is not really on the curriculum at particularly 5 o'clock at night. If I'm cutting grass, I'm cutting grass. I'm not fucking about doing anything else. But a lot of people think that when you cut the grass for 20 quid and you finish cutting the grass after 15 minutes, they think that they've got another 45 minutes of paid time, which is unfortunately not the case. It's not the case. Grass is grass. Anything else is fucking extra. Anyway, I did the stuff. But then she proceeds to tell me, I cut the grass and she made me a cup of tea. Very nice. And she proceeds to tell me that she's had a week from hell. Apparently the oven blew up. Apparently the oil burner packed up. Apparently a couple of nights previous, she couldn't get the log burner going to heat up her room. And there was there was about 7 or 8 things that had happened to her during that week. And she classed it as the horribilis Anubis, just like the Queen. Very interesting. And like I said, so if you are all about doom and gloom, you will attract doom and gloom. That's why I look very young. That's why I'm always happy. Anyway, I'm off. See you all later. Take care. Love you loads.